Hudson County View live at Uncut, where what you see is what you get and what you don't is better yet. I'm your host, John Arhitis, talking the latest and greatest in Hudson County news. Quite a few things this week. It's been pretty busy. For one, we saw that NJCU President Dr. Sue Henderson will be stepping down effective tomorrow. She put her resignation in at the end of Monday, and the Board of Trustees accepted it. So we're going to talk about what these implications mean going forward. We're also going to still talk about the long-standing implications of Roe v. Wade. You know, obviously there was quite a few protests over the weekend, which I highlighted in our newsletter. And there was also a resolution in front of the Jersey City Council last night, so we're going to talk about that as well. We're also going to talk about what's happening on the peninsula. Bayonne Business Administrator Melissa Matthews won't be reappointed. And while she had the opportunity to take her previous job, she's declined to do so. And we're going to tell you exactly what's happening there. Of course, the reorganization meeting for the Bayonne City Council is tomorrow at noon, and then the inauguration will follow a few hours later. That's at 3:30. And also tomorrow, the Township of Weehawken will do their inauguration at noon, but there's no real reorg there, as it's the exact same mayor and council as before. Of course, they ran unopposed. We're also going to talk a bit about the Liberty State Park situation. Obviously, that new bill that has been fast-tracked, a lot of people said would open it up to privatization, has been approved by the legislature officially. However, we have heard from State Senator Brian Stack, who's also the Union City Mayor, and he's given his word that he's going to put in a piece of legislation that will protect the Cave and Point section of the park. And of course, I'm also joined today by Jersey City Ward Councilman James Solomon. So all that and a little bit more when we get back.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design studio and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net. Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Stevens Jersey City Ford, certified parts and service located at Route 440 and Communipaw Ave, is your #1 source for Ford and Lincoln automotive needs. We use certified Ford Motorcraft products to keep your Ford running in top shape. Motorcraft parts are backed with the Ford warranty, which includes a 2-year unlimited mileage guarantee. Our team will have the right Motorcraft part to ensure the best performance from your Ford or Lincoln. You can order in person at the parts counter or online. Let us help keep your Ford or Lincoln in the best shape at Stevens Jersey City Ford.
Yes, we've all seen the clip of the woman senator, or I don't know what her position is, saying that this is a win for white lives. So that may very well be the case, and the reasoning behind it may not be genuine at all. But that doesn't neglect the fact that it's still a woman's fight. It's still my fight because there is a little young black girl in Texas somewhere that might have these complications, and her doctor is telling her, this is not going to work out for you. This fetus is not going to live. And she has to now sit there with this condition that is damaging to her, hoping that her body can at some point expel this situation, and it may not.
One of the things we are also doing, should this resolution pass, is I've asked the mayor to write an executive order supporting this resolution, but also, like we did for our sanctuary city for immigrants, requesting that our law enforcement not cooperate with any other state law enforcement should they come and have questions about something from coming to Jersey City to have a procedure. Because quite frankly, it's none of their business. The other piece of it too is we are talking now in the city and also with our counterparts at the county on different ways we may be able to fund procedures for people to come in, because quite honestly, We have no idea how this is going to affect healthcare and health institutions in other states. They're all preparing for the worst.
If you're going to penalize a woman for making a choice over her body and she didn't get in that predicament by herself, then because we are equal country, so to say, then you must penalize him in some way or another. So I don't know what the penalty must be, but if they're going to come against our rights, I think we need to start coming against their rights. I think it's a fair shake. I don't know if they have to get a campaign or petitions on they have to pay a fee or they have to get a vasectomy or they have to be castrated or they rape them. I don't know. But I do believe it's worth the conversation.
That's a County View Live at Uncut, John Arhitis. So as you saw, those were some of the Jersey City Councilwomen speaking about this resolution about abortion rights. You know, the resolution that was in front of the governing body yesterday talked about two things specifically. They talked about codifying Roe, of course, in the U.S. House of Representatives, and it talked about making Jersey City a right to choose sanctuary city for abortion rights. Based on that clip you just saw, if you weren't familiar with what was going on at the meeting, I think it's fairly obvious that that passed unanimously. That was 8-0. Councilman at large Daniel Rivera was absent. One talking point that was brought up was that we heard from someone from the North New Jersey Democratic Socialists of America who talked about how he wanted to see some funding go into the city and how they could have some sort of abortion clinic set up free of charge. And we heard from Ward B Councilwoman Mira Pranzari, who was the sponsor of this piece of local legislation, and she said that there was already discussions throughout the city and with the county to talk about doing something along those lines. Didn't get into the particulars, but we're obviously going to keep you posted on what happens there. And this was also an effort that was supported by the Jersey City Young Democrats. A couple of them spoke during public portion. And pretty much every council member, with the exception of Ward C Councilman Rich Baggiano, gave a detailed explanation, part of what you just saw right there. So with that, I'm actually going to take another break, and when we're back, we'll be with Ward E Councilman James Solomon.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer a Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one path stop away, or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Introducing the all-new Ford Maverick. A truck for people who do stuff. And people who make stuff. People like Gabrielle Union.
I make this look good, don't I?
Who haul whatever they want to wherever they want. Like wood to build things made of wood with. And friends to get weird with. It's for long trips that the standard hybrid engine with a targeted EPA estimated city fuel economy rating of 40 miles per gallon helps with. That an 8-inch touchscreen connects with. And any trip that this interior makes more comfortable. But we'll let Gabrielle tell you all about it.
Or I could just tell them it's a Ford truck that starts at less than $20,000 MSRP.
Yep, that works too. The all-new Ford Maverick, built to defy expectations.
Hudson County View, live at Uncut. John Arhitis, as I just mentioned a moment ago. Today I'm joined with Jersey City Wardy Councilman James Solomon. Councilman, always nice to have you.
Great to be here, John. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So look, there's no shortage of topics to talk about this week.
No.
But let's just talk about last night, as I just touched on. Let's talk about this resolution you guys passed.
Yeah.
Obviously, you and your colleagues unanimously supported it, and I know you attended at least a couple of the rallies over the weekend. Why is this an important issue for you and for Jersey City?
It's a fundamental right. The right to choose, the right for women to control their bodies. For 50 years, that has been guaranteed to every person in the country. And for the court to overturn it in the face of public opinion. Every public opinion poll will say that the majority of Americans wanted Roe v. Wade maintained. That requires a response. And I think, just average people want to see their elected officials fighting for their rights and fighting for them in the wake of a pretty disastrous decision. So I was grateful for Councilman Pranzeri, all of the councilwomen on the council to sponsor the resolution last night, and proudly voted in favor of making sure that Jersey City is a place that any woman or person can exercise their right to choose.
Now, just as you were walking in, I mentioned that a couple people in from the public and also the councilwoman mentioned that there's possible the city may get some funding for this. Do you have any additional information on what's happening there?
I don't have any additional information. I would just say that it's really important that people not just have the right to health care, but they have access to it. So anything we can do to expand access, I want to do.
All right, simple enough. So let's talk a little Liberty State Park, and I know you've been consistent.
Got my golf clubs in the back. I'll bring them out.
That would be good. Maybe we'll hit a couple putts.
Yeah, exactly.
But so I know you supported the Protection Act since its inception, and I know you supported the park longer than that. Yeah. But look, this was a piece of legislation that obviously got a lot of criticism. It still sailed through pretty easily in the legislature at a rapid pace. Yeah, we saw some changes. Obviously, the funding's down significantly. The task force has expanded. Fortunately, we don't have that amendment to protect Cave and Point. At least a lot of people call it unfortunate. So your take on this whole thing?
Yeah. There was, and there still is, a policy that would unite 99.9% of Jersey City, and I say 99.9 intentionally because the 0.1 is Paul Fireman, right? He's the one who would be excluded. And that policy is to say Cave and Point is fully protected. It will never be taken by Liberty National Golf Course, and we're going to put in law the inability for anyone, DEP, whoever it is, to one day in the future build on it and take that natural sensitive area as an ecosystem for the golf course. In addition, we can build needed active recreational facilities, ball fields, a community center. All of that is needed and will help the city. And there's no reason why we can't have that unless it is the money, lobbying, and power of Paul Fireman, the billionaire, stopping us from that outcome. And we didn't get there in this bill, and that's why I spoke at the Assembly in favor of amendments that didn't get placed in the bill. But it's also to remind everyone that there's nothing that's stopping us from getting that tomorrow. I know Senator Stack introduced the bill to protect Cave and Point. I take the senator and the mayor at his word that that's what he wants to do, and I have faith that he's going to fight for that. And my hope is that everyone who supported this bill gets behind the senator and gets that bill through that bill protecting Cave and Point through the legislature as quickly as possible. But we're obviously going to be skeptical because we know that Paul Fireman and his lobbyists have extraordinary influence, and we still think his ultimate goal is the seizure of Cave and Point, and we want to make sure that never happens.
All right, yeah, point taken. So let's just say that this bill is introduced by Senator Stack and it passes. You still have the previous piece of legislation that would allow for like an amphitheater or allow for like a stadium. And I mean, what do you make of that? It just is what it is, or what?
No, I think that we want to make sure that the community voices that decide these ultimate improvements are really representative of the broad swath and spectrum of Jersey City. And no one's individual vision is going to win out. We're all going to have to compromise. But I think there is a very reasonable compromise that people are going to agree to, right? We are going to have hundreds of acres of passive recreation. The DEP has a wonderful restoration plan for the interior. We want to get that cleaned up. We got to get the shed cleaned up over by the train station, remove any of the chemicals that are there. Their idea was to create it into a market. I think that's a lovely idea and would be wonderful. Now, are we going to have one stadium, two stadiums, three stadiums? It's not for me to decide, but it's not for one person's vision to become the vision for the park. And I think the public has clearly stated they want a park that is free and open to the public, right? That is free from large-scale commercialization. So I would say that I'm willing to compromise on what my full vision for the park would be. I think everybody is, and I think that would bring the city together. But we can't compromise when we think the park is under threat, when we're not getting the protections for Cave and Point and against large-scale privatization that we need.
All right, point taken. So now let's move on to another topic. Let's talk about this Tidewater Basin redevelopment plan.
Sure.
So 2 large towers. I did cover the meeting myself, but I think that was 16 and 23 stories respectively, and it was 400 units, 60 reserved for affordable. And there were still quite a few people that spoke out against this. Of course, the planning board, was okay with the amendments. They voted in favor. But what's your take on this project? How do you see it?
Yeah, so this would be the first project moving under the city's new inclusionary zoning ordinance, which guarantees that a certain percentage of units are affordable. And that's really important to me. We need more affordable homes in downtown Jersey City and across the whole city. And while it's never perfect, that is a really worthy goal to fight for. With that said, I don't think the council should just accept what the developer proposed and make no changes to it. Right? I think there are legitimate issues that have been raised. How can we mitigate the impacts of this development on the surrounding community? And my hope is in the next month, before as this plan advances at the city council, that we can make sensible amendments and changes to it to get it built, get the affordable housing units, but limit some of the negative impacts on the surrounding community. Again, I think that is very reasonable and very possible, and my hope is that we'll have constructive partners to do that over the coming month as it advances.
Okay, very good. So that's going to come before the council again, right?
So we'll come before the council for probably final adoption at some point in the late summer, August, September, something around that time frame.
Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about the budget, right? So I know this is obviously a hot button issue for everyone at the city and the Board of Ed and whatever, but the bottom line is this: it's $795 million, and there's at least $1,000 tax increase for the majority of homes in the city. And, certainly you would think there has to be some kind of compromise there in terms of which departments get what. So, I mean, how are you envisioning this playing out?
Well, the council is just starting its budget hearings. So in those hearings, we get to really dive into the details, and that'll help us determine what to do. But I think obviously the bulk of this increase is not coming from the city. But we have to do our part to limit the impacts on homeowners. So just a small example, I didn't vote in favor of the fireworks contract, or a couple $100,000, not because I don't love fireworks, I love fireworks, but I think we have to demonstrate to the taxpayers that we are going to be judicious about every single dollar that we spend. And so my approach as we go through the budget hearings is to look at every line item and see where we can save money. And even if it's, a small line item, we've got to show taxpayers that we care that much. Because this is going to be a huge burden. I've heard from dozens and dozens of people since they got their tax bill, and a lot saying they don't think they can stay in Jersey City. Right? A 35% increase in 1 year is an extraordinary amount. So on the city side, my commitment is to make sure that we go line by line and do whatever we can to limit the burden on taxpayers.
All right, very good. And so do you have any details on what hearings will be going on next week?
So the council president has released the schedule. They're going to occur, I believe, on the 6th and the 7th next week, and then the 12th and the 13th, I want to say, the week after. And every single city department has a hearing, and those hearings are open to the public. So any member of the public can attend at City Hall as we do the hearings.
All right, very good, Councilman. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We're just going to take another break. We'll be right back.
All right.
Panepinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panepintodevelopment.com. Panepinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Hudson County View, live and uncut. John Arhitis, and I'm still in the studio with Jersey City Woody Councilman James Solomon. So another thing that I wanted to touch on today is obviously we're talking about this $4.7 billion turnpike widening project, New Jersey Turnpike Authority. And I know you called into the meeting to express your displeasure, and I'm paraphrasing, but you said it's one of the worst projects in recent memory.
That's it. It's an exact quote.
So why do you feel so strongly this is the wrong choice?
Yeah. We now have decades and decades of experience of what happens when you make highways bigger in cities. So what happens is you add an extra lane of traffic, you think you're going to reduce congestion. But what happens is everyone's like, hey, I'm going to drive my car now, there's less congestion. And you just end up with the same or worse levels of traffic as before. And here's the thing, right? The Holland Tunnel isn't getting any bigger. We're widening the turnpike, you're still taking all those cars to the exact same 2 lanes of the tunnel that exist. So they're just going to bottleneck. And when they bottleneck, what are they going to do? They're going to drive on our local streets. And so we already have large traffic volume on our local streets of people cutting through for the Holland Tunnel. We're only going to get more from this project, but it's worse than that too, right? They're going to take land, right? They're going to use eminent domain. They're going to build on playgrounds, on parks, right? My daughter's playground is next to the turnpike. They're going to, in their plan, extend the turnpike another 20, 30 feet, literally adjacent to the playground she plays in. And that's going to create air pollution problems. And for what benefit? What do we get out of spending billions and billions of dollars? We're just going to get more congestion. No, this doesn't solve a problem. It's as if I propose spending $4.5 billion to dig a hole and then fill it back in. Because we're not going to get anything from it in Jersey City. Now imagine if we invested $4 billion in light rail extension, West Side Avenue, we've got the 18th and Jersey stop, we've got the Bergen part of light rail that's never been built. Imagine the climate impacts from moving people onto transit and out of cars. Right? There is just so much good we could do with that money and so little benefit, in fact, harm that's going to come from the current proposal to spend it. So that is why you accurately quoted me in saying it's the worst idea in recent memory in Jersey City.
All right, very good then. So let's talk about local infrastructure for a moment on perhaps a lighter note, but I know you were with Ward Councilman Yusuf Saleh not long ago. I think it was just last week.
That's right.
And you were, I think that was at Cole Street. And you guys are working on something over there. Tell us what you got in mind.
Yeah, so if you've been on Cole Street, if you want to cross in Jersey City between Hamilton Park neighborhood and the neighborhood north of the Holland Tunnel, which I like to call Lackawanna, and we'll never call Soho West because that's what the developers want to call it, but want to cross into the Lackawanna neighborhood, you generally have to cross the lanes of the Holland Tunnel access.
Yeah.
The only crossing that is not involved going across the Holland Tunnel is Cole Street. So it's a crossing that's used by kids on bikes, moms and dads pushing strollers, people who are disabled. Unfortunately, we had a tragedy in 2019 where someone was killed in a hit and run accident at that crossing. And if you've ever been there, it is unsafe, right? It's dark, it's damp, the sidewalks either don't exist and then you have like a 3-foot curb. And so people just dart out into the road all the time while cars are traveling in an extremely fast manner. So for us, it's really important to repair that stretch of road and do so in a way that makes it safe and inviting for pedestrians and bicyclists, which will also make it safer for drivers. And you're going to connect these two neighborhoods. You're going to connect Hamilton Park and this Lackawanna neighborhood, where in the last 10 years we've added, 5,000, 10,000 people living in just that little space. So it's a really important neighborhood connector, and it's one that I think Mayor Fulop, Director Patel, we have I think a lot of really great city officials working on helping us do these repairs, and Councilman Saleh has been a great partner. And I'm hopeful we're able to get those capital improvements done in the short term.
Any idea on the timetable or the cost on that?
So we're going to get in that process of getting that plan kind of estimated. But my hope is we're talking a calendar year to get this done and costs that are not exorbitant.
All right. And when we were talking, when you were in your re-election bid, I know you were talking about, of course, greenhouse gases, climate change, and you had some plans for the waterfront.
Yeah.
And, obviously in light of this EPA decision by the Supreme Court, those plans are probably now more relevant than ever. So just wondering if there's any movement on any of that stuff we discussed last year.
Yeah, we've done research as a team on ways in which we can strengthen the building code regulations. So to basically make sure that every residential and commercial building that's built, that they're going to reduce their carbon emissions. We're working at creating more open space, which obviously any more trees and tree planting reduce the carbon in the atmosphere. So there's a number of pieces that we're trying to do, but to your point, by gutting the EPA's ability to regulate carbon emissions, the Supreme Court just, one, they're gonna make the world warmer and the climate worse, most important thing, but then also the more we can do locally, the better. So we're gonna continue to try to push on getting a couple of those projects done, including specifically strengthening the energy efficiency and requirements for commercial and residential buildings.
All right, great. So any closing thoughts today, Councilman?
I just am appreciative of the public's outpouring of support for Liberty State Park. Yes, the bill was passed, but I think for folks to know is we keep having to let our legislators and leaders know that we want a park that is free and open to the public, that it does not have large-scale commercialization in which Cave and Point is protected. And it can be frustrating because we're fighting uphill against the influence of money in politics, but it is necessary. Those voices already led to improvements, including the introduction of Senator Stack's bill, but we have to maintain our energy to ultimately ensure that that vision for the park is one that unites 99.9% of us and not the 0.1% that is seeking to privatize it.
Councilman, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. We're not done yet. We'll be right back.
Not everyone celebrates the birth of a baby. You have options. Don't panic. New Jersey has safe havens for unwanted infants. Leave the baby with staff at any hospital, ER, police or fire station, or rescue squad. Call the number on your screen for safe haven locations or go to www.njsafehaven.org. No shame, no blame, no names. Safe Haven.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Hudson County View, live on Uncut, John Arhitis. So real quick on a crime note, I mean, we almost never talk about crime on this program, but this one's pretty unusual. Check it out. A Union City man was busted with 30 pounds of cocaine at Baltimore Washington International Thurgood Marshall Airport with over 30 pounds of cocaine in the pads of a wheelchair. And this was an announcement made by U.S. Customs and Border Patrol on Tuesday. So Gabriel Ruiz, 34, of Union City, was arrested on state felony narcotics importation and possession charges on June 21st by Maryland Transportation Authority police officers after they inspected his electric wheelchair. So just quickly, Thomas Hefford, the acting area port director for CBP's area port of Baltimore, said concealing dangerous drugs inside wheelchair seat cushions is unusual, and transnational criminal organizations work very hard to conceal their illicit drugs, but this cocaine seizure proves once again that Customs and Border Protection officers are up to the task of protecting our communities by fighting the drug gangs' creatively concealed contraband. So just real hurry up offense here. Bayonne BA Melissa Matthews has worked her last day in Bayonne City Hall. She has resigned instead of taking a demotion to Clerk 1. She used to work for the Division of Planning, and that was before she got appointed to BA in 2020. Obviously, since then, it's been a pretty big falling out with the administration. You know, she's got that gender discrimination lawsuit that's still pending. A few of the plaintiffs have been dismissed, but this case is, probably going to be around for the long haul. So that was quick on that. And we're just going to end talking about NJCU just very quickly. The Board of Trustees accepted Dr. Sue Henderson's resignation, as we talked about at the top of the program. And, they basically credited her for a number of things, including increased enrollment, including keeping test scores up, and a bunch of other things that we really just don't have time to get into the details. Of course, the cloud that's hanging over this is that the development on the west side, which is $156 million, led part of $156 million debt. And also, we have to talk about that whole situation with A. Harry Moore, which is a special needs school in Jersey City that nearly closed due to NJCU cutting the cord. However, they ended up walking that back. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it a week. We'll see you next time.